Jean felt a sharp blow and immediately lost consciousness. When she woke up, she found herself in an unfamiliar world. It was a world where everything was distorted and twisted, and nothing was in its place. The colors were brighter, the sounds were louder, the atmosphere was thick and filled with the same energy that often accompanies forebodings. Jean began to search for a way out, trying to beware of all dangers. But all her attempts were useless. She found herself in a parallel world from which there was no way to return. At first she thought it was a terrible dream, but over time she realized that it was reality, and that her life would never be the same. There was something wrong in this world, and the woman hardly expected that it was something even worse than her fate. She began to notice that some things didn't match up with what she knew from her world. There were days when the world around became much less stable, and all living creatures mutated into a terrible stream of poisonous smoke and fire. Once, on one of these days, Jean saw a woman who was so stunning that her surprise turned into horror. The woman was completely wrapped in dark, overgrown fur, and her eyes lit up with a fiery flame. She walked past Jean, turned around for a second and said, "This is not your world." Jean experienced a burning pain as her head creaked, and an endless amount of emotions piled on her. She tried to escape, trying to find a way to return home, but it was also clear to her that there was no such way. Maybe I'm just crazy or something, Jean thought. But then why does everything in this world look so real, when she had already come to terms with the new reality? She received a sign that she could return to her world, but she had to perform certain actions. Jean was left alone in a terrible environment and by herself. She could not do what was required of her. A few years later, when she was ready for despair and the fact that all efforts would be in vain, she met a strange man. This person informed her that there is a sacred artifact in this world that makes it possible to go to another world. In other words, she found a way to return home, after receiving instructions. Jean went in search of this artifact. Soon she realized that in exactly a month she had to find him before dawn. Otherwise, she would have to stay in this world forever. As a result, Jean managed to find the artifact and use it, and she returned home. However, she was no longer the same as she was earlier feared.